Okay, thanks, Patty. And I also want to thank Toshiba Bob for their hospitality this morning. And also Lisa and Catherine for extending the invitation for me to be here today. You know, as I was coming in this morning, I saw a great sign. You know, we talked about the thought for the day, and I saw a great thought that certainly motivated me, and it said, "Your life is a masterpiece, embrace it." And so I thought that it was a wonderful thought, and that certainly will be my thought for the day. As Patty indicated, I am a lawyer. I've been an attorney for over 30 years. And just a little bit more about myself. I'm the proud mother of 2 daughters. My younger daughter is fulfilling her dream in Hollywood. And my older daughter is fulfilling her dream when she moved to Europe about 5 years ago. And so this is my opportunity now to fulfill my dream and to do some of the things that I've always wanted to do with going through that empty nest syndrome. And my older daughter, when she was about 4 years old, she was pretty proud of what her mother did for a living. I guess she was. And so she would go around telling anyone who would listen, she said, and I quote, you know, that 4-year-old high-pitched voice, "My mommy is a liar." What, honey? "My mommy is a liar." "Oh, you mean lawyer?" "That's what I said. My mommy is a liar." So I am a liar. I didn't mean a lawyer. Today we're going to talk about leadership and the 3 C's to effective leadership. And certainly we know there are several characteristics of leaders, effective leaders in leadership. But the 3 C's I'm going to talk about today are create, communicate, and character. Before I go into the 3 C's, can I see by a show of hands, how many of you would describe yourself as effective leaders? Or you're moving towards that? Or you think that effective leadership is important? And I think most of us would agree on one of those. And so, and my second question that you can answer to yourself is, how do you know a true leader? What are some of those characteristics that would make you come to the conclusion that this person is really an effective leader? And what are some of those characteristics that you yourself would like to have or think that you need to have in order to be an effective leader? And my third question is, do you understand and appreciate the importance of effective leadership and how it can radically improve your life and improve your state of affairs in your business? Being a more effective leader can improve your business relationships. More customers or clients could improve the bottom line. How about the promotion you're thinking about getting or asking for or seeking? How about an increase in salary? Important and effective leadership skills can also help you in your family relationships, to repair family relationships and to improve family relationships. And how do you think that effective leadership might positively impact you and your relationship with someone else? How could your improved skills help someone else? And so we're going to talk about some of those issues on effective leadership. Now, I've been an attorney for over 30 years, and I can recall when I first got out of law school, and you know, I thought I could conquer the world. I was ready to go out there and show what a great professional I was, this great leader. And you know, I got my first position at a large law firm, and you know, I realized that I was so low down on the leadership totem pole that you needed a magnifying glass to see me. And so I learned over the years, I not only learned my profession, but also learned to master some of those leadership skills that are so very important. And some of the things that I learned, and I want to share a few with you today. One of the things that I first learned is that a title does not a leader make. Just because I have the word attorney after my name, just because they put vice president of the vice president of the vice president on your door, does not make you automatically a leader. It's a learned skill that you have to learn and work on. Secondly, what I learned is that people are not going to follow you just because you have a title. They are not going to follow you just because you have a title. You have to prove yourself to them. And thirdly, I learned that leadership is not only for those at the top. You know, Peter Drucker made a statement that says, companies make a mistake when they believe that only the senior executives can make decisions. And so if you're in a business, a small business, or you're a supervisor or manager, and you have the idea that because you're the supervisor, only you can make decisions and have important input, then I ask you to look again at the people who are in your group or in your team. So we talk about leadership, and as I said, there are very many characteristics of leadership, but one of the things, and John Maxwell talks about this in his writings, and I'm sure that Craig is being affiliated with John Maxwell organization will appreciate that. One of the things that John Maxwell talks about is influence. You cannot be a leader unless you have influence. And an influential leader, a good leader, exerts influence, and people choose to follow the leader. Whereas a positional leader, which means a leader who's a leader by virtue, just because of their position, exerts control and to force people to follow them. I mean, we've all had experiences where we've had a supervisor, where they say, well, if you know what's good for you, do what I tell you or else. So that's exerting control and not being the influential leader that will lead you to a place where you want to follow that leader. So are you an influential leader or are you a positional leader? And John Maxwell also said, if you have to use force of will to get people to do what you want, then you are not a true leader. And you cannot be an effective leader without possessing the power to influence others. And he also said, if you're a leader and there's no one following you, guess what? You're not a leader. So how does one become a leader of influence? And here are the 3 C's of effective leadership, which are create, communicate, and character. Create. As a leader, whether a leader in your company, as a part of a group, a department, a team, it's important that you create a vision as to where you want the group or team to go. You know, the Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh said, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. And so you have to create that dream and then do whatever is necessary to bring it to fruition. You know, when we look at someone like Walt Disney, those many decades ago, as he and his team stood somewhere in the middle of Florida on a vast expanse of virgin land, most of the members of his team, what they saw that day was a vast expanse of virgin land. But what Walt Disney saw, he saw excitement. He saw happiness. He saw children. He saw families. He saw possibilities. He saw Disney World. And so, as a leader, when you create that vision, not only do you create it, but you facilitate passing on that vision to others so they can see that vision, so that they can help you accomplish it. They may not see the entire vision, and you may have to take them through a process. But if you are that leader of influence, if you have laid that groundwork with them, then they will certainly be inspired to follow you. And so, having that vision, that depth of vision, is so very, very important. And so how do you get people to buy into that vision? And that's my 2nd C, communicate. And this is a big piece. You know, I was working with a business client, a small business owner, and he was complaining about his staff, what they didn't do, what they ought to do, shouldn't do, and that he couldn't communicate with them. And I said, well, give me an example of how you communicate and the results. He says, well, I tell them what to do, I tell them how I want it, And then I come back and they do something different, they didn't understand, and it's just so frustrating. I mean, I could talk for 2 days on all the things that he did wrong. But the important thing to understand about communication is more than just talking. You know, my favorite soul singer, the song Talking Loud and, you know, and Saying Nothing. You know, you watch that Charlie Brown cartoon and you're wah, 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 you know, it's just, people are just filtering you out. And so communication is not just talking. And, you know, as I was a college professor for about 14 years, and one of the things I always told my students is that listening is one of the most difficult skills to master. And that's why so few people master it. And so you have to listen. It's an intentional listening. It's active listening. You know, it's not thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. It's not waiting for the person to take a breath so you can jump in and tell them your opinion. I mean, we've all been in conversations where two people are talking and they're both talking at the same time and nobody's really listening. They just want to get their ideas out. And so if a relationship is important to you, whether it's with your children and your spouse or significant other, whether it's the people in your office or company or organization, if those relationships are important to you, then you need to be able to develop the skill of listening. And listening not only with your body, with your mind, but also that eye contact. That eye contact so they understand that you are in tune with what they're saying. And, you know, not that glazed over eye contact that, you know, as you're thinking about something else. And one of the good things about really looking at someone when they're in front of you and having that conversation is that you not only hear what they say, but you also tune in to what they don't say. You know, Peter Drucker said the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. And how often you ask someone, how are you doing? And I'm fine. And if you're not looking at them, if you're not having that eye contact, you will miss the nuances of their body language and their eyes. And so looking at someone will bring that communication. I remember when my daughters were younger, and when I had a really important conversation to have with them, I'd get down on my knees, eye level. And they would see that. They would see the sincerity. They would see the importance. And they would respond. You know, if they had a temper tantrum, they'd quiet down because they understood that this was important to me and it also should be important to them. And so as you communicate, develop that art of persuasion. You selling a product, you have to not only know the product, you have to believe in the product. You know, like many of you during college, I had a lot of jobs. One of my jobs was at Yankee Stadium selling hot dogs. I didn't know what was in the hot dog. I didn't care about the hot dog. I didn't believe in the hot dog. But I sold a lot of hot dogs. You know, I also had another job as I sold water filters. I didn't know anything about the water filters. I didn't care about it. Did I sell any? No, because it was important, the kind of product that I had to know what it's all about. I had to believe in the product. I had to be able to communicate. So part of communication is developing that art of persuasion and also knowing your product so that you can communicate that. You have to touch people's heart as you try to move them to action. You know, a lot of employees will say, well, you know, I don't have to go out of my way. It's up to the employer, up to the employee to come to me. They must respect me. No, you must respect them. You must go that mile. You must teach them how they should respond. They're waiting for you to teach them. And so you develop these relationships. So people will not buy into you, buy from you, if they don't buy into you. So build those relational bridges. And I think one of the things also communication is energy, having that energy and energized. I mean, we've all done it. We've gone to work and we're dragging and we're in a bad mood. We had a fight with one of our relatives or whatever in the morning, and we go in, we slam the door to our office, and, you know, someone says, you know, how are you today? Have a good day. You know, what's good about it? We all have that. But when we are leaders, you know, we own businesses or we're supervisors or managers, we have to understand that the leader's energy affects the entire office. Followers feed off the energy of the leader